Hey everyone, welcome back to Bridge the Gap podcast. I'm Lauren.
And I'm Scott.
And if you have been a long time listener slash watcher, you can tell my background is back to the house. If you guys remember last week, I was coming home for a doctor's appointment because I'm not sleeping. So I'm still here. I go back to Clemson tomorrow, but I am here. And so welcome back to the high school bedroom. It's been great and not re-traumatizing at all.
It shouldn't be. We're pretty chill.
No, not y'all. It's the room. The memories that whisper in the walls. But yeah, welcome back. We've got a few things to talk about today. One of them, in case anyone cares, my London countdown. I'm at 28 days.
That's pretty exciting.
8. I've got, I think on the countdown officially, like it was a month yesterday. So very exciting stuff, guys.
Pretty exciting. Hopefully, everything goes okay.
It will.
Yeah. But obviously, the big thing was the Super Bowl, I think, last time since we saw people. So, lots to talk about. You know, I was thinking about it before we jumped on. Because obviously, there was always, I guess now, there's controversy always, right? Like everything's controversial. So it goes back to, I think, our very first podcast, or maybe one of the earliest ones where I talked about everything has to have a label and everything has to have this and everything has to have that. And it's sad, and I haven't changed my opinion on that at all. It's sad that we have to label stuff or make something more than it is sometimes. And it seems like everything has to be politically charged rather than just preferences. You know what I mean? So everything has to be political rather than preferences, you know? So we have a lot to talk about on that because obviously there was a lot to say about the Super Bowl. But did we pick who we were rooting for last week when we wrapped up our...
I think we both mentioned the Seahawks.
Yeah.
This household was rooting for the Seahawks for sure. You could not get me to root for the Patriots ever.
Right.
I think. So, even if my life depended on it, they were like, you only could live if you root for the Patriots. I'd be like, well, shit. Because it's not happening.
Yeah. So, little context for you Patriot-loving fans, including my brother-in-law and Lauren's uncle, who's from Massachusetts. So we could never root for the Patriots, unfortunately. Sorry, TJ, if you ever listen. Because they always beat the Chargers when the Chargers were in San Diego. And I've never gotten over the 2006 playoff game where we beat, we're the Chargers. I'm not going to say we because they're not in San Diego anymore, but we were the best team in football. Had the best record. We had LT, we had Antonio Gates, Phillip Rivers was on fire, and we were beating the Patriots with like seconds to go, and we intercepted Tom Brady, and if the safety would have just fallen down, we would be possibly Super Bowl champions in 2006. I feel pretty confident that they would have been because we had already beaten the Colts, and we would have beaten them again, I think. And I think we definitely were a better team than the Bears. So I think it was our year. You know, we've only gone to one Super Bowl as an organization. I keep saying we. I keep saying we. So that's where the disdain for the Patriots kind of started. And then couple that, your mom and I have been together 25 years. And your Aunt Susie and Uncle TJ are pretty close. So almost the entire time I've known TJ, the Patriots friggin' won all their damn Super Bowls. So I had to hear about it all the time. Not so much from him. It's not like he was obnoxious about it, but, you know, family member team keeps winning the Super Bowl. You know, it's a topic of conversation. So yeah, we can't root for the we can't root for them for that. That's kind of where it's rooted. And then the other thing for me is,
My
go ahead.
my
I was going to
disdain
say,
is my disdain for the Patriots is honestly more of the fan base. I also don't like the organization as a whole. I think they're very slimy. I think that all of their fans are in denial about Deflategate. Because say what you want, they're the only team that's ever been caught for it, or they're the only ones, whatever. So we won't even get into that.
yeah,
But growing up, they were the meanest fans ever. And like to this day, if you say you're any kind of fan and then they're like, "Oh yeah, well, we've got 6 Super Bowl rings." Rah, rah, rah. I don't shut your mouth. Like honestly, I don't care. So, my disdain from the Patriots is interacting with their fan base my entire life.
yeah,
Um and listen, like we said last week, I'm pretty sure we said this. We were rooting for Drake May personally
yes,
because he's a local boy. Huntersville is very close to our hometown. So we were rooting for Drake May individually.
to do well.
However, I could
Yeah,
not be more than happy to watch them lose the way that they did.
yeah,
Um, it was amazing. Drake May, say what you want. I know his stats for that were terrible, but a quarterback sacks shouldn't. I just don't feel should be held. They should be held against that. I don't think those stats should be held against a quarterback when most of the time sacks are an O line's fault.
right.
And he's a young quarterback. He's just a baby. He's 24 years old, like 3 years older than me. So he's a baby.
Is he 24
So I was rooting
already? I thought he was only 23.
Well, regardless, he's a baby.
Right.
And was going against Sam Darnold, who was like the 3rd overall pick in the 2018 draft. So that's a big thing. And, you
He's
know,
23.
yeah, I was rooting for Drake May as a person. But watching the confetti have some green in it was so beautiful to watch.
Yeah.
And I was so happy to see. And it's too early. I've said this to you. We made this joke. It's too early for me to see history repeat itself and get another Patriots Super Bowl. It is too damn early. They didn't even have a full break. Like, you guys need to suck for a little while. You guys should not already be back in the Super Bowl. It's such bullshit.
That was the other point I was going to make is, it just hasn't been a long enough time. Like, it's too soon, right? Like, and not if you're a Patriots fan. I get it. Listen, they were, 14-3 this year? I mean, I understand they had, I think, the weakest schedule.
They had the easiest schedule, yes.
Yeah, for the teams that made the playoffs. But regardless, like you said, Drake May, we were rooting for him personally. And say what you want. I mean, he got obliterated because Seattle's front four, they might be the best front four ever in football, to be honest with you. I mean, when you can only rush 4 and sack the quarterback 6 times, and there's no chance. I mean, he had nowhere to throw to. So,
Seattle's defense was no joke this year.
Yeah, they were no joke. And we were hoping he would do well. To his credit, he threw the most, I think he threw for the most yards in the 4th quarter of any quarterback in Super Bowl history. So he didn't give up, and he kept fighting, and, kudos to him. And listen, the Patriots are a young team. I mean, the guy that was playing left tackle, I think, was originally a center or a guard, and they moved him out, and he's a rookie. And, they could be in for another Patriots run, which will be very difficult for me, going back to the point, like, it's just not been long enough. Like, we used to live in another neighborhood, and one of our neighbors was a huge Steeler fan. Huge. And it was when Ben Roethlisberger was there, and it seemed like they were going to the Super Bowl constantly, or in the playoffs at least. And so I couldn't stand it. Couldn't stand them. And I had a bunch of people that I worked with that were Steeler fans. Obviously, Steelers have a huge fan base, and they have a huge fan base here in Charlotte. And so I constantly had to hear about them. But they, I think the last time they made the playoffs was 2015 or something. Like, it's been not make the playoffs, but because they made it this year, but like, they haven't made a Super Bowl in a long time, and they haven't won a Super Bowl in a long time. So you know what? If they got back, I'd be like, okay, it's been like 15 years. I'm good. The Patriots had 2 bad years, 2, and they're back. So yeah, it was good to see. And by no means am I a Seattle fan. I mean, your other brother-in-law lives in Seattle, so they're doing the parade there today, and he told your grandparents about how they were doing it today. And so it's exciting, living here when the Panthers made the Super Bowl. It's always exciting to be in a town where your team makes it. And so good for Eric and the Seattle fan base. That was a really, but I'm not a Seattle fan by any means, but I will say, I got to give him credit. That coach is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And if you listen to the post-game news conferences and interviews, they all spoke very well. They spoke highly about each other. That wasn't riddled with a bunch of slang. They sounded professional. Like you could tell that team got it, and they really represented themselves and each other and the city well. And then the last thing I'll say about this, and then you can say more, or we can go on to the next topic. But Sam Darnold, I feel like I'm so happy for that guy. He got drafted by the Jets, which is the place where quarterbacks go to die.
That and the Browns.
Yeah, exactly. And then he got shipped off down here to Charlotte and was a backup. Never really given the chance that he should have. Then he got shipped out to San Francisco, was a backup. Then he got signed with Minnesota and took him to the playoffs. And then they ditched him to sign J.J. McCarthy from Michigan. So he's never found a home, and he's a good quarterback, right? He just played the Panthers have been terrible for years, so he was not in a good organization at the time. They did better this year, but he got kicked to the curb so we could draft Bryce, right? First round draft pick. And then he got kicked to the curb in San Francisco so they could put Brock Purdy in. And then he got kicked to the curb in Minnesota so they could draft J.J. McCarthy number 1 overall or in the first round. So for him to finally get a team that appreciated him, brought him in, and they could win, I mean, good on him. It's great. And listen, the Minnesota Vikings GM got fired because of not seeing Sam Darnold as a long-term solution. So, sometimes humility and being, rolling with the punches and putting your head down and working hard and believing in what you're trying to do pays off. And I'm really happy for that guy.
I feel the same way. It was hard not to root for the Seahawks as a whole when you learned more about their team and the struggles that a lot of them went through. Walker III, their running back, he was prematurely born, predicted not to live past a year, never to walk, never to speak, and then he just won a Super Bowl. Like, it's hard not to root for people when they have work ethic like that. And, Stephon Diggs, I have personal beef with for ditching the Bills. I think I was so glad to see him not win. Plus, apparently he's just a terrible guy, in general, as what I've seen and heard on the internet. Obviously don't believe everything you read on the internet, but when it's multiple teams talking about, they did this skit when he was with the Vikings, and they went in the locker room, they asked all the guys, like, who would you not let date your daughter or sister? And all of them, without a doubt, no hesitation, said Diggs. Like, that's kind of concerning, like, so. And then when he turned his back on the Bills, that made me sad. So, because I think we talked about this a little bit last night with Grandpa. Josh Allen's kind of America's quarterback, where you may not be a Bills fan, but if they get there, everyone's rooting for Allen. He's a good guy. But yeah, I still feel the same way about the Patriots, like you said. I didn't have enough of a break. They're like that toxic ex-boyfriend that you thought you finally got away from, and they text you like happy birthday 2 years later, and you're like, no, go away. I thought I got rid of you. Like, that's literally how they feel. So yeah, I mean, I honestly thought it was kind of a boring Super Bowl until the fourth quarter, but at that point I was already showering and getting ready for bed because I had to be up at 7 a.m. the next day. But I thought it was a pretty boring Super Bowl, but it was a Super Bowl of defense, which that always turns out to be a very boring Super Bowl because it's just shutting each other down over and over and over. So it was good. It was boring, in my opinion. I was looking for more, but I kind of expected the way it went when you look at the statistics from both teams. But yeah, it was good. And
but it was it was good. I mean, it was a good Super Bowl. The second half was much better, obviously.
Much better, yeah.
Was kind of a drag. I thought that the national anthem guy sang pretty well.
Charlie
That
Puth. Oh my gosh, he's
Yeah, I thought he did a
amazing.
good
Have you
job.
seen him like in
No, I have no idea
general?
who he is.
He's like one of those guys where you'll play like a random video and it'll be someone's like scream or shout and you'll be like, "What note was that?" And he'll be able to tell you whether it was sharp or flat or anything like that. Like he's one of those guys where he's just very like musically inclined. He's
Yeah.
great. He was very popular in the 2010s when I was growing up. And then
Okay.
he kind of pulled back to write and produce music instead of sing it.
Gotcha. I
I
thought
had
he
no
did a
idea
good
he
job.
was. Yeah, I had no idea he was singing it. And then they popped up and we all went, Charlie Puth.
Yeah. I had no idea who he was. I mean, listen, I think I thought his rendition was very good. It's hard for my generation because I feel we've witnessed some of the best national anthems for the Super Bowl ever. I mean, obviously Whitney Houston in '91, by far the best one. I mean, it's not even
Yeah.
like I don't even think it's close. And she was just an enormous talent, and she just embraced it was. I mean, I talk about it, gives me chills. She was just so good, and there have been some pretty duds, pretty big duds. I thought he did a good job. I thought the flyover was awesome.
The woman who sang America the Beautiful, her voice was amazing as well.
Yeah, oh yeah, Belinda Carlisle. Was that who it was?
Yeah, something Bindi Carla, something like
Something
that.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, she did good, right? Like I thought that was good. So
Very unique and authentic sound, and that's what I thought was
yeah,
nice.
yeah. I thought so I thought overall, it was a good intro, good decent game. The team we wanted to win won, so that's always good. Thank God the weather was nice because, it could get pretty crappy up there in January and February. Knowing from experience the Bay Area.
Well, and Green Day wasn't too bad either. I know everybody was freaking out
them.
about them. I did because I still like their music.
Yeah.
But they didn't ever say anything crazy. They just performed the songs that they knew everybody was gonna want to hear and
That's
left
good.
it at that. I thought it was great.
I
mean, obviously they performed American Idiot, but
yeah, they do that every time.
It's their most popular song. Like you'd be an American Idiot if you didn't perform American Idiot. You got to perform that song.
And I've never been a big Green Day fan, so if people are like, "Oh, of course you didn't watch it," relax. I've never been a big Green Day fan. Right? They came out my freshman year in college, along with Dave Matthews and Blues Traveler and all that, and that wasn't my vibe, right? Like I grew up 80s metal and rock, so they're kind of like the antithesis of what I enjoyed at the time. And all my friends that went away to school, because I didn't go away to school right off the bat, they came back and they had all these trendy songs, all these freshmen in college poppy, and I've just never been a big fan of them, and listen, they've done well, good on them. I don't hate on them. I've just never been a fan. But I'm glad knowing what they've done in their own concerts. I'm glad they didn't bring that to this, right? Like just perform the songs and enjoy it. And
it's like when we talked about the Grammys last weekend, where it's like, we don't need to turn this into a be better. You can say something like, let's unite as a country, or let's stop being so hateful. Like those are good, positive, neutral messages.
Right.
Yeah, I'm glad it didn't turn into the Grammys where everybody was pointing fingers and blaming the other. Yeah, it was nice, especially, and even the halftime show we can talk about because you watched the Kid Rock one and I watched Bad Bunny.
So
we can talk about that a little bit, about how it's important if you're going to make a statement, especially as a musician, when you're kind of removed from what the general masses are going through. Keep it nice and simple. Don't point fingers and just get your feelings out there without accusing someone else, and then move on,
Right. Yeah, let's talk about that halftime, because I'll say right off the bat, I did not watch Bad Bunny. Now, for all you haters, especially if this is a clip, all you haters, if you call me a racist, then I hope you just get buried in an avalanche or something because you're an idiot.
That was aggressive.
Well, it's true because he just look at me. I'm a 50-year-old guy, right? It's not my I'm not his demographic. I'm not the target audience for Bad Bunny. I'm just not. And I was watching the Pat McAfee show on Monday, and they were talking about it. And he has I think he's a former teammate that played football with him. He's a black man. I think he was a wide receiver. And he was like, I didn't watch it because I'm not the target demographic, right? So everybody just needs to calm down and just accept that some people are not fans of that music. You know what I mean? Now, I do like Kid Rock. I liked him when I have his debut CD right in here in the office, right? And I like country music. So since there was an alternative, I watched the alternative, and I thought it was really good.
If there wasn't an alternative, would you have turned off the Super Bowl?
I don't know if I would have turned it off. I would have not watched
just not
it.
paid attention.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I just
I was just curious. I didn't ask you that last time we discussed this, so yeah. I was curious about it.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't have watched it, and just so you know, I don't watch a lot of the halftimes because
I will second this, everyone. It doesn't matter who's performing. Most of the time, my dad's using that as a bathroom break, a refill your drink break, and then an eating break. Yeah. So the past few years, my dad hasn't watched it. So I will second that my dad's not a racist.
Right. I watched the Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg. That one was great. Was awesome.
I forced him to watch Rihanna with me when Rihanna did it, and he zoned out half the time anyway. So if it's not for the target demographic, then it's not. Let's not make it a big deal. I think the only reason people were upset was because it was hosted by Turning Point, and some of the lyrics that Kid Rock has are a little pedophilic.
What?
He says he prefers them underage. Some call it statutory. I call it mandatory. There's a song where he says that. That's where people were upset.
All right,
I think calling it racism is a little aggressive, in my opinion. I think I understand how it can be viewed that way, especially with them hosting it on purpose during the halftime show. So I can see where it can be viewed that way. But I don't think it was racist. I think it was a difference in demographic and opinions. And I don't think we need to point fingers and call everyone who watched Kid Rock racist. Like you said, not the target demographic. Bad Bunny was geared towards Gen Z and maybe some younger millennials. That's the music that we've listened to. Bad Bunny, I've listened to Bad Bunny. He was the #1 streaming artist in the world across Spotify and Apple Music. So he was geared towards the younger demographic, and Kid Rock was geared towards Gen X, and that's okay. Like, we don't need to make it this whole big deal that it's really just not,
Well, so first off, let me go back. So the guy on Pat McAfee's show is Darius Butler, and he didn't watch it, right? So so I just want to, make sure I know that. Listen, I don't know when Kid Rock wrote that song, but there was a song by Winger called 17, and they wrote that in the 80s. You know what I mean? So I think, listen, I get it. Probably not the greatest thing, but...
And I think half the outrage with it, real quick, is just because the recent release of the Epstein files.
I get it.
So I think that's why people are more sensitive to celebrities talking about children right now.
Right. But people need to just take things as they go, because if you're really upset about that, then some of the lyrics that I heard that Bad Bunny sang in Spanish, which is a violation of FCC, then you need to look at yourself in the mirror too, because he sings the words that he sang were pretty freaking ridiculous. So
what? He was just taking multiple of his girlfriends to the VIP lounge.
Yeah, okay.
I listened to Talk Dirty by Jason Derulo in all English in literally 4th grade, and no one said anything about it.
Yeah, I get it, but I was like, I read some of it. I was like, damn, that guy, that like, and I don't know. I mean, listen, I am not prudy at all. I use the F word all the time.
We make that's what she said jokes like no one's business.
Right. You know, we were never the family that was like holier than thou. Don't cuss, right?
Don't cuss, don't sex, don't anything.
Right. Like, I'm not saying anything of the nature. All I know is that if that was an English speaking show and they tried to sing those words, the entire halftime would have just been quiet because they would have bleeped out the whole thing. And so that's what I don't understand. I think that's, we can go back to the hypocrisy of it all. Like, that's hypocritical. And so I don't understand that. And listen, I didn't like him being selected. Now, I'm going out on a limb here, and everybody's going to freaking get all upset, but I didn't think that it was a good choice for numerous reasons. The first one is I thought the NFL had a really good opportunity to do a show that was celebratory towards the 250th anniversary of our country. I think a halftime show that would have celebrated that with artists from all walks of life would have been better, right? So that's my holistic big picture point, right? I think some of the best halftime shows that I've ever watched were collaborative, right? We can talk about Janet Jackson
besides Prince and Michael Jackson,
right?
Those are standalones that you can't compete with those. Yeah.
Janet Jackson, Justin Timberlake, even though that had controversy, right? Aerosmith.
I think that controversy was on purpose, but
right. Aerosmith with Britney Spears, right? Like, some of them have been outstanding when they're
like
collaborative.
Coldplay, Bruno Mars, Beyonce. We talked about that one. I'm not a big Beyonce fan, but the three of them together was
great,
stellar. Yeah, that was great.
So I thought they had an opportunity to find a collaborative halftime show and really celebrated. And they did it at the beginning, like celebrating the 250th anniversary. But I think the halftime show could have been that focus. So that's the first.
He did bring out Lady Gaga, who is a big deal to a lot of people.
I know.
They did bring out that, and then he did bring out Ricky Martin, which, say what you want, I know he still is a Spanish speaker and singer. Ricky Martin was very popular among the younger Gen X and early millennials.
Not younger Gen X. He didn't come out.
Mom enjoyed Ricky Martin.
Yeah, but not younger Gen X. I mean, we liked him. Like, he came out in the 90s. We were in our mid-20s.
Yeah, the tail end of Gen X and then the millennials.
We didn't grow up with him. Except in Menudo.
But you clubbed with his music.
Maybe. I didn't, but...
You've been to Mexico, Dad. You definitely clubbed with Ricky Martin.
So that's the first thing. The second thing I thought is... So it's in the Bay Area. What is the biggest band in the world right now?
It's so hard for you to make this point too without, like, I know you don't mean it that way, but it's so hard for you to make this point and not sound biased.
Well, but who's the biggest band in the world? Who had the biggest tour in the world last year?
Taylor Swift.
No, they outsold her. Thanks. Good try.
Metallica, y'all. It's Metallica.
Metallica. It's the biggest band in the freaking world, and they're in their 60s. Guess where they formed in LA, but guess where their home base was starting in 82? San Francisco Bay Area. They lived in El Cerrito, right? Like, their address was 3132 Carlson Boulevard in El Cerrito, California from 83 to 86.
Give people a reference of how close El Cerrito is to Santa Clara.
It's close. It's in San Francisco. I mean, nothing's close to Santa Clara in San Francisco. It's like an hour and a half ride because of traffic. But anyway, it's the Bay Area. You know what I mean? And Green Day's from the Bay Area, and they had them play the pregame, right? So I thought this would be... We haven't had a rock act at halftime in a long time, right? And they'll say because they're not big. Well, Metallica's freaking big. And then you could have tied in the fact that they're from the Bay Area. I think Lars still lives there. I think the other guys all left, but Lars still lives there. And if you want to talk about diversity and the American dream, Lars legally immigrated here when he was 17 from Denmark. So born in Denmark, legally immigrated to the United States, right? Robert Trujillo is a Mexican American. He was born in the United States, but his parents are from Mexico. Kirk Hammett's mom was born in the Philippines. His dad was born in Ireland, and he was born in San Francisco.
What a mix, by the way.
Right? What a mix, right?
What a mix.
And then you got James from Downey, California, LA area, right? So not only are they from there, not only are they a big band, they're also a group of 4 people that are from 4 unbelievably different backgrounds, which is the whole thing about the United States, right? Everybody can be different.
It's the melting pot.
It's a melting pot, right? So I just thought I just think it would have been a better choice. And the last point I'll say, and I know I'm going to sound, but I'm tired of the NFL picking acts that appeal to your generation. No offense, because you know who's paying the NFL salaries? My generation. Like the target demographic for American football is me, right? Or my age group at least. So why don't you like kind of look at that and go, man, because 21-year-olds aren't paying $300 for Sunday NFL ticket, right? Middle-aged guys like me are, right? Like it. So it would just have been nice to be a show that appeals to all of us, not just one generation, which parlays in the second thing. And this is what I just don't understand. And I don't want to discredit anything, but I don't understand doing a whole show in Spanish. I just don't understand it. It's American football. Somebody saw say 20% of the United States speaks Spanish. Okay, well, 80% doesn't. So I don't understand why you would alienate 80% of the viewing audience that doesn't understand what you're saying, and even like I said, Pat McAfee, he was like, it looked cool. It looked entertaining. It was entertaining. I just wish I understood what the hell he was saying. I just don't understand it. So I just didn't, that's why I didn't, it's just not appealing to me. And I just wish the NFL would change it to either be more collaborative, where it includes my generation and yours, like they did with Aerosmith and Britney Spears or something, or make it about the United States 250th anniversary, or get Metallica, who's a big band that appeals to the Gen X crowd and the Gen Z crowd, because they sold out all their stadiums in the last 2 years. So those are the reasons. And listen, the other show was great. It was. I mean, you got Brantley Gilbert, who is a big country star, right? Lee Brice is a big country star. But the girl, Gabby Barrett, I think, she was...
Yeah, I know that. I know that name.
She was unbelievable. I'd never heard of her before. She was really, really good. So, like I said, I'm a rock guy, metal guy, country music. I like instruments. So it just appealed to me more. And those are the reasons why I was a little frustrated about the halftime show.
Yeah. So my dad and I had already talked about this just a tiny bit, which is why I was able to sit through that without interrupting him. But we still felt it was important to share our perspectives with you guys. So you got his perspective as a Gen X man. Nobody needs to send any hate to him. It's just his perspective and opinion. He's not a racist, so please just spare the drama in the comments. But so I'll give my perspective as a 21-year-old Gen Z person. The Super Bowl has always been a big deal, and if you grew up with parents who enjoyed football in the Super Bowl, then you've watched it your entire life. I think, to touch on a few of your points, I think that the reason they do the Gen Z halftimes is because they know that that's their next demographic that's going to pay the money. So they have to start, reeling them in early. They also saw how much their views jump when they started viewing Taylor Swift and putting her on the screen. And now all of a sudden a new whole group of people is watching and tuning into the NFL, right? So I think part of it's a marketing strategy of trying to get the newer generation to prepare them to pay that $300 tab for the NFL Sunday ticket. So I think that's part of it. I understand the not understanding Spanish, which we discussed this as well. But for me personally, I know a lot of people that said that, but they'll listen to songs in English that they don't know the lyrics to. They can just understand that it's English words. So that argument I get for your generation, for my generation, if people were saying it, I was just kind of like, okay, dude, like whatever. Yes, the lyrics were a bit out there, but a lot of lyrics are out there. If it's not, country and rock are pretty much some of the only ones where the lyrics aren't out there. So I didn't see an issue with that really. Um, I enjoyed it. I'll say it. I love it. I love Bad Bunny. I think his music's really fun. I literally listened to his song today in the car where he talks about having multiple girlfriends and taking them to VIP. Because you know what? It's a banger and it's fun to listen to and it's fun to dance to. And I just think I'm not saying you're a hateful dad, but I think if you're just very hateful on this performance, you didn't even give it a chance, Because it wasn't bad. I know people were upset about like the twerking and whatever, but no one said anything when all the dancers at Rihanna's halftime were twerking everywhere. It was a very diverse dancing group. He never said anything bad. He said God bless America first and then named all the Latin American countries, which I thought was fair because he named America first and America's flag was first in line. So he never said anything hateful. It was a beautiful display of Spanish culture and all the different jobs. I thought it was cool that he brought in that couple to get married. I thought that was really, really cool. Cause like what a dream wedding. You got married at the Super Bowl just because you as a joke. So this is the story. As a joke, they invited Bad Bunny to perform because they both love him. And he goes, well, I'll do you one better. How about you guys just get married at the Super Bowl while I'm performing? Like that's so cool, And I liked that he didn't say anything either. Everyone was worried, and I know we talked about the marketing. I think that was all purposeful as well. But his main message was the only thing that is more powerful than hate is love. And you and I have talked about this on the podcast, how now there's just a lack of empathy, and everyone's so quick to judge, so quick to label, so quick to just hate, 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 that we don't just appreciate each other anymore because at the end of the day, politics is inevitable and you can't escape it. But we all bleed red. It doesn't matter where in the world you're from. We all bleed red. We're all human beings. And so I thought it was a good all around message, like I mentioned earlier. He came out there, he put on a show, even though he knew some people were going to not like it. But he still went out there, put on the show, put on a good halftime show. It's not one of the greatest out there, but I thought it was good. And all he said was, let's love one another, So in the grand scheme of things, I definitely understand your perspective. But as a Gen Z, I also understand our perspective about being excited about it.
Yeah.
They play Spanish music in the club and the entire club starts moving even better, So
yeah,
it was a great halftime show for my demographic. I do think that we need to work more on it being collaborative, like you said, or maybe even some subtitles. I know it still would have been racy subtitles.
There's no SAP in English button on the TV. You know what I mean?
I know, I know.
We couldn't even. And
I wish they would have put subtitles because even if I saw someone who was watching it on a streaming service, not YouTube TV, but a different one, and they turned on the caption, it just said singing in Spanish. And it's like, right. You guys, are you serious? You couldn't have at least translated it? Like,
yeah,
come on. We've come this far and we can't get live translating captions. Like, are we serious?
Right. And listen, listen, I want everyone to make sure that they hear it. I wasn't hating on it. I just didn't.
That's what I said. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just expressing why I didn't watch it. And then I'm expressing what I thought would have been better. That's it. I've seen videos where where it's pretty quiet in the stadium during his performance. And I think a lot of that has to do with people didn't understand what he was saying. Right. And there's a lot of people like me or older or even more successful, right? Like we all know that the Super Bowl is a huge corporate thing, and so you got a bunch of stiffies, board members that don't understand what the heck is happening, So I just think the NFL
It's just like our
needs to.
Congress.
Oh, yeah. It's
Who said that?
but I just think the NFL needs to kind of take a step back and kind of go, okay, what could we do different? Because they've played this before, and I know some of the ratings are great for some of them. I saw a bar graph where it showed that the viewership by start of the game to the end of the game, and at halftime it dipped. I saw it, and I know obviously the other show got, I don't know, 6 or 8 million views on just one site or something like that. So I think I think it would be nice if the NFL evolved to change the halftime to be collaborative and to appeal to more people that watch it. The 220 people I think tuned in for the Super Bowl. 20% of that is 44 million. So that means 180 million people didn't understand what the heck was going on. I think they just need to find a more common, like Coldplay, right? Coldplay was the biggest touring band of 2025. They're still huge.
They're amazing.
I know they've already done the halftime show, but that would be a good choice. Metallica would be a good choice, right? Taylor Swift, I think has she done a halftime show?
No, and I don't think she ever will, because she knows that the dads would be pissed. I mean, they were mad when they'd show her 3 times during an entire game. So
I know.
I don't think she'll ever do.
That's not her fault.
I don't think she'll ever do.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because it's not her fault.
Yeah.
It's not her fault. But I mean, Metallica and Lady Gaga collaborated at the Grammys several years back, right? So
yeah, that would be such a stellar show.
I think there's just another way to do it. You know what I mean? And we are
and in a time of such divide, like we've talked about with political parties and just general people being so one way and one, what is it, singular minded? How do you say that?
Yeah, that's
okay.
Yeah.
I think this Super Bowl could have been a great opportunity to unite. And again, Bad Bunny's message was really good. Only thing stronger than hate is love.
He tried to make it unifying. He tried.
Yeah, and
I'll give him the credit.
he did a decent job. I don't think a lot of people were expecting that. Again, the NFL could have capitalized on it even more and been like, dude, we're all Americans. We're all here watching the Super Bowl. Let's all just unite. So I agree with you that they could have done a better job of making it more collaborative and appealing to those 20% that do speak Spanish and the growing population that is legally coming to speak Spanish, and that do speak Spanish. And then the other 80% that speak English. I definitely think that's a great point. So I just wanted to agree with that statement there real quick.
I appreciate it. Like I said, and I know I sound like a homer with Metallica, but 2025, they were the top grossing rock tour of 2025. And they set an attendance record-breaking 2-night performance in North America and Europe, all over the world, right? So it's not like if they would have picked them. And as I understand it, they didn't even approach Metallica. So I think that's where the ignorance of the NFL comes into play, is like every stadium in the country plays Metallica at timeouts or right, like TV timeouts,
commercial breaks, everything.
Like they're always played, right? It's like, so embrace it, because that's what your core audience enjoys, really, right? Like not all of them, but we're not
even college football games. They play Metallica. Virginia Tech runs out to Enter Sandman.
Exactly. Right. So I just think it would, like just embrace. We're never, ever, ever. We were never, ever designed to be great for every single person, right? Like we are a constitutional republic where the majority rules. Like that's what it is, right? So then appeal to the majority. The majority of the people that are paying money to go to football games, buying Sunday ticket, buying jerseys, buying the Super Bowl tickets are middle-aged people. I would say men, but I don't want to alienate women, but it's middle-aged people. just try and bridge the gap, like it's crazy. And I think that is where, bring Oasis to play the halftime show. They
I
had the
would
biggest
love
tour of
to watch
2025,
Oasis.
right? I would love to see Oasis or Coldplay.
I'd love to see Radiohead. Radiohead just came back. I know you wouldn't care for it, but I'd love. I know, but that is bridging the gap because a lot of people do like Radiohead.
I know.
So that would have been a great show too. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I also just think, I don't know. I just think some halftime shows we're just never going to be able to compete with ever again. Prince started singing Purple Rain. It started dumping.
It was amazing.
What the like? Are you kidding me?
Amazing.
Michael Jackson, he came out and for 2 minutes of the halftime show, it was just the screaming crowd. He didn't even lift a finger.
He didn't even move.
He just came out on stage, and for 2 minutes, the stadium was so loud they couldn't even start the show. I think there's just certain artists will never be able to reach again where everyone is pleased. Because I think we're just past that type of stardom at this point in time. And there's never going to be a halftime show again like that where it does please everyone. Because, I mean, even if you didn't like Michael Jackson or weren't a huge fan of him, it was hard to look at that performance and not go, damn, what a performance. It was one that was pleasing moms, dads, brothers, sisters, babies, whatever. Right. So I think that's just also the hard part is they don't really know what to put on anymore. Because we're never going to reach that point again, So I think the reason they went with Bad Bunny was because, again, he was the number one artist on Spotify and Apple Music. So it was a safe choice to be like, all right, let's go with whoever's number one. I mean, that'll get viewership. And he got 135 million people to watch the halftime show, which was more than Rihanna's. And Rihanna is a humongous deal. I don't know. It's, very interesting. I'm glad we have both perspectives though, because that's the whole point is we're bridging the gap. Right. I understand your perspective of it. You understand my perspective of it.
Yeah.
There's no hate.
Totally
There's no hard feelings. It's just a difference of age and opinion, and that's okay. And that's the whole point of why we're doing this. So
I do want to.
It's good that we have differing opinions.
We do, and that's the point, right? And I'm not going to discredit his popularity. I just don't know if the audience that watches the Super Bowl is what's making him the number one artist on Spotify. You know what I mean? That's it.
But from a marketing perspective, like we said, to bring in the next audience who's going to pay the NFL Sunday ticket, it was a smart move.
I think the NFL too, and this is a great parlay into the other point that I wanted to make. I think the NFL thinks it's bigger than it is. And I think they get a little arrogant with it a little bit. So, and so I think that's why they pick an artist like Bad Bunny, because they're like, oh, we're huge in Mexico. We're huge in South America. Yeah, you're really not as big as you think you are.
I knew you were going to bring this up. I knew it. As soon as you said you have one more point, I knew it.
Well, it's kind of like the hardest part to admit is the reality of where you are. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a 50-year-old guy, and I'm a good general manager type person. You know what I mean? That's what I do. I'm good at that. I'm not going to go out and be the next Michael Jordan. I never was. I'm 5'9", right? Like, so I think sometimes people just can't accept who they are or what they are, right? So then they thrust hate and they have all their issues. And I think sometimes companies get a little too arrogant. And the NFL is a company, right? I think they're a little too arrogant. Like, I don't think we need to play 87 games over in Europe like they. I know that's an exaggeration, but it used to be one game overseas, and now the NFL kickoff is in Brazil. They go to Germany, they play in England. It's like, okay, I get you want to be global. I get it. But don't alienate your core to try and go out and get everything. You're not that big. And as big as the NFL is, and I know I'll get hate for this one because nobody can admit this, but you can look it up. They're not that big. So the highest number of people that watched the Super Bowl this year was 220 million worldwide, right? There was a game in the English Premier League, which is soccer if you're an American, or it's football, which is why the rest of the world calls it American football, because everybody else calls soccer football, right? There was a game on Sunday. It was 11:30 on the East Coast between Manchester City, who's in second place in the English Premier League, versus Liverpool, who's in sixth place. That one game, drew 750 million viewers worldwide. 750 million viewers. The NFL's Super Bowl, biggest game of the year, 220 million. This wasn't a World Cup final. This wasn't a cup final. It wasn't even the FA Cup or the Carabao Cup or any final at all. It was just a regular league game. 750 million people watched that game. So that's where I'm saying sometimes the NFL, like, just bring, like Prince, Michael Jackson, Tom Petty, like maybe you need to kind of appeal to the people a little bit more instead of always trying to stretch so far out, and
how American of us. We literally make this joke about how Americans just always think that everything's about us. And like how American of us to think that everyone's watching the Super Bowl when just a regular game. I mean, that is one hell of a matchup. So those numbers make sense. Game. But yeah,
and I can't stand either one of those teams because I'm a United fan, but I watched the game.
It was a great game.
It was a great game.
But yeah, how American of us to be like, everyone's going to watch the Super Bowl. Like,
right.
No. Like, come on.
We're not that big.
We're that is so American of the NFL.
It really is. And like I said, I understand Bad Bunny. I get it. Biggest Spotify artist, but I'm almost certain he's not the biggest Bad Bunny or Spotify star because of the 220 people that watch the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? It's the other 500 people that watch Manchester City and Liverpool type people, like huge Latin American, obviously South American.
Yeah.
I'm sure Spain, if you broke down his stats by country, right? Like, I get it.
Yeah.
I'm not discrediting any of it. He's earned it.
Yeah.
Good on him.
He earned the spot whether you want to argue or not,
right.
or whether you want to acknowledge it or not. It's just not the demographic is our main point.
Right. So
we're not.
Yeah. Can you believe
we're not
that,
saying
though?
he didn't deserve it.
I was surprised that the City Liverpool game drew that many. I sent it to your grandfather.
Not honestly. That makes a lot of sense.
I sent that stat to your grandfather, but your grandfather is always trust but verify type of guy, and he loves to prove me wrong sometimes. So before I sent it, I double and triple checked it, and so I texted it to him, the screenshot of the statistic, and we saw him last night, and he was like, I had to look it up because I didn't believe you, but you were right. I was like, yeah, that's how many. He's like, he goes, being, he's in his 70s. He didn't grow up being a soccer fan. He watches it now because of me, more than anything. And he does enjoy it. Like, he watches it. He'll text me during a game and stuff, but he never grew up on it like many people in his generation didn't, right?
Well, and a lot of people still don't, because soccer is just not what
it's
is
a lot more
marketed
popular here than it's ever been. But
yeah, it's growing.
But he was
for
like,
sure.
He's like, you kind of forget how big that sport is outside of the United States. Yeah, it's pretty damn big. Like, still to this day, So, that's an amazing stat.
Yeah, and also, like, I think the NFL is also losing viewership, and a lot of people are moving to college football. Because everyone's tired of all the new rules and all the little nicks and knacks that the NFL is trying to put into the game versus college football. And, we've talked about the NIL ruining the game, which we still agree with. But before that, a lot of kids are there because they're playing with heart. It's their dream to play. Here, they know that this is a stage not many get to touch. I feel like that gets lost in the NFL, and it just becomes about the paycheck,
Yeah.
So... Which, that's just my opinion as a loser, as a girl who quit her sport and is sitting on the floor of her high school bedroom because she can't sleep at 21 years old. So, like, obviously my opinion and perspective is going to be a little different.
Yeah.
But college football is growing a lot. And I don't think the NFL is even aware, or they don't see it as the threat that I think they need to.
Yeah.
soon.
I will say, so I looked it up. So soccer has now surged to become the third most popular sport in the United States as of early 2026, with roughly 10% of Americans identifying it as their favorite, narrowly surpassing baseball. It trails football and basketball 1 and 2, right? So
Basketball's surprising. I didn't know that was still a big deal to people.
yeah, people like it. So obviously, with the change in our country's demographic too, right? It's obviously that helps that sport as well. But yeah, we'll have to table the college football. Maybe that's next week, because there's a big thing with college football with NIL now, and so when you talk about just playing for the money, that's now starting to infiltrate the college system as
No,
well.
I know.
So, and
I've
don't
seen
like
it
at all. So maybe that's a topic for next week. But no, listen, I hopefully, like you said, the whole point of this is to show differing viewpoints, and I think the football game and the entertainment is a perfect example of you and I having different viewpoints or motivations, I guess, is probably the better reason, right? Mm-hmm. And not everybody that watched the other one, my motivation wasn't because I'm politically freaking psychotic. Like, I might shock people. 99% of my day, I don't think about politics at all, because it doesn't, like, why? It shouldn't.
There's more pressing matters to think of every second of the day than politics.
Absolutely. So, there was an alternative. There had never been an alternative before. So I tuned to the alternative, and I do like country music. I like rock. And listen, I do believe in what they said. They said faith, family, love, and country. I mean, there you go. It's like, I believe in those 4 things. You know what I mean? Just like Bad Bunny was like, love is stronger than hate. I believe in that too. Right. So it wasn't politically charged, and that's what I wanted to say, is it was a preference. I liked that music better. And so hopefully people can start, it'll always be my wish, is that people will start moving away from it, making everything so politically charged, and just accept things that people have different opinions and different interests and different. That's the great thing about this country, is we have options. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't like a restaurant, you don't have to eat there. Like, if you don't like a TV show, you don't have to watch it. And the same thing with the halftime show. I wasn't going into it going, oh, this is going to be terrible. I just was like, well, there's this alternative, and I'll watch that one because I do know that music. So that's good. It's nice to have alternatives.
Yeah, and to wrap up and add on to what my dad said, the reason my dad and I have such a good relationship is because we both have flaws, but we also are both very similar. But I will say this, if I thought my dad was a racist asshole in any way, I wouldn't talk to him like this. So if I thought any part of my dad tuning into the other halftime show was racist, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to him, and I probably wouldn't have come home. I would have just come home for the doctor's appointment and driven back. So I just want y'all to know, I know a lot of people are spinning it a certain way, and I'm sure there are people out there that are racist that did watch the other one to particularly be racist. We are not those people. Oh, my dad is not one of those people. Again, if I thought he was a racist asshole, this podcast would be done. But he's not, and I just want to stress that. My dad's not a bad person. It's all demographic. It's a difference of opinion. I'm not saying that racists don't exist out there and that they didn't and I'm sure there are some out there that talk shit on Bad Bunny the whole time and didn't even give him a chance by watching the other halftime show and was racist about it. I'm sure they were there. That's not our family. We're here to provide difference of opinion, showing that other generations can have conversations like this with difference of opinions and still be okay.
So
I just wanted to
communication, standing,
It goes a long
No,
way, y'all.
appreciating differences, those things are important. And it's funny because when I was growing up, my dad couldn't relate to me at all, right? Your pop, who was the greatest grandfather in the world, wasn't always the greatest dad, not because he was purposefully. It's just, it's hard being a dad. I'm a dad now and I make mistakes constantly. And my dad just couldn't relate to me, especially the music, right? He just could not relate to the Iron Maidens and Metallicas and Slayers and,
Yeah.
Motley Crue. He just couldn't, right? And I will never forget, because as a teenager, you think you know everything. And I was like, you're so out of touch. Like you need to embrace my generation, And he's like, and I think I even said, because we all say stupid shit when we're in teenagers, I was like, I'm never going to be like that with my kids, And once again, like 99% of the time, the dad is right, whether it was my dad or your dad or me.
Your dad, so you?
No, I meant like the public, not you personally.
Okay.
I meant the public.
I was about to say, so you?
Yeah, me. They're right, because there are people you bring up and I'm like, I have no idea who that is. Like I have zero.
And then I'll be like, Dad, they're like the biggest artist right now. Like, how do you not know who this is?
And the funny thing is I it is a little bit different because I don't, my dad, the bands that he listened to weren't touring and selling out stadiums when he was 50 and I was, 20, like mine are, right? You and I saw Metallica together in Charlotte at Bank of America Stadium last year, and they sold the place out, right? So there is a little bit different between my dad now, me and my dad and nowadays. But yeah, I'm that person too. So, once again, I say it and you say it because if you can't communicate, listen, I might not be in tune with all the lingo and all the popular stuff, but I still embrace the conversation and I will still express my opinion on it and you listen. And if we disagree, we disagree, right? Like that's okay. At least have the discussion. Don't avoid it, and I think that's and I hope to God someday before I'm dead that we as a race, meaning the human race, will evolve either back or forward, depending on how you look at it, to not look at every single situation and tie a political motivation to it. Like it was never like that when I was a kid. It's like that now. I hope we go back or forward, once again, like I said, to just, if I want to watch a country artist at halftime, don't put any politically charged motivations for it, right? And if you want to watch the halftime show, I'm not going to assume a political motivation either. Like, I just wish we would get past that. And the only way that we can, and what you and I are trying to do, is show that we can have the communication, we can have the conversations, we can agree to disagree, and still love and support the shit out of each other. So that's my
quite literally
thing.
And I second that. Listen, it was a good halftime show. I'm glad I watched it. I've watched it again since because I enjoyed it so much. But I also just love music in general. If I can dance to it, I'm going to listen to it and I'm going to enjoy it. And I don't know the words. In fact, if anyone heard me singing along to that song in my car today, I probably would have been called a racist with how bad it was. Which is not purposeful. I'm not great with Spanish, but I can groove to it. So I'm a groove to it. But yeah, so have conversations, keep each other accountable, but let's, with both messages, I think the biggest message from both halftime shows was let's stop being so hateful. So I can agree with that on both of their ends. So thank you guys for watching this episode. We appreciate the continued support. I'll let Dad do his little runoff thing that he does every time. Go ahead.
Yeah. Listen, we're doing this for us. We've always said that.
We got to wrap up.
I know. And we're doing it for people that find this intriguing, watching a Gen X and Gen Z. But if you watch us, like us, comment, interact with us. We want to spread the word. If you like us that much, comment, like it, share it, right? A like goes a long way, right? And the more likes we can get, the more we'll get to do this and the more topics we'll get to do. And so please like, share, comment, all the above, do the trifecta, or just do one of them, but just do something. And we appreciate it. There's my spiel.
Yep. And we will see y'all next Thursday. Thanks for tuning in. Peace out, y'all.
Glory, glory, Man United, 4th place.
Let's go. All right. Goodbye, everyone.
Let's go.
Let's go.